God's sake. Okay, let's see here. All right. Hello and welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Kathleen Fitzgerald, freelance performer and teacher. We have known each other since 1986. She is an extraordinary, extraordinary human being. Kathleen, it's so good to see you.
It is so good to see you. It's been too long.
Too long, but we share many things in a ephemeral, ethereal way, but very grounded as well. And we'll get into that later. But I'm just so thrilled to sit here with you. And again, selfishly, I say, this is the way that I get to see friends. That's that's what this talk show and these sessions are really about, and also to, show people what amazing people you are. So this is our 11th session of At Home with Forsythe Family. And I'm just so happy to be here with you. So we always start with this question: what part of the world are you in?
I am right now in a very warm, sunny place, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I moved back here in 2018. And
why did you move back there?
Well, a couple of reasons. I had retired from my previous job as a school director. And it's a little hard to pay $12,500 a year in property taxes. And I have a limited income. Thank goodness for my European pensions. Wouldn't make it without those. Yeah. And I have a ton of friends here who we all went to school together it was 1966 for me. Some had come in 65. And in the last about 4 or 5 years, a whole bunch of these friends, and we've always stayed close, especially, I know it's for antique people, in Facebook. And I would hear from Mary, who's probably my best friend here in Colorado. I'm moving to Winston. And I thought, well, you know what? It's only my 23rd move. I'm sure I can do it. So I moved down here, and that 2019 was great, apart from the fact that I got to go perform in Dresden again. We would go to 2 concerts a week, a ballet. I mean, they have a symphony orchestra. It's kind of an artistic triangle in the Piedmont, and it was the right decision. It's difficult to be away from my daughter for a long time, but we'll talk about that later. And it's just perfect, I love it.
I'm so happy. I also, it's another tie that we share. I've also started a relationship with UNCSA, as it's called now.
I was so happy when you did that.
Yeah, it was already a good 5-6 years ago now, when Susan Jaffe was the dean. And now an amazing woman, a friend of mine, Endalyn Taylor, is the
You know her?
Yeah.
Oh, I was so thrilled when she got the position.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, so we share that NCSA thing too, you and I, and it is a very special place. And I really like Winston-Salem. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in that old Winston-Salem and that they've really done up now. There are cafes and what I love is that you can go to the old smithy. You can see how things were done, and I don't know. I like that whole area. I spend a lot of time in North Carolina. interestingly, and how life, takes people places.
Well, I had started doing Ancestry.com, oh gosh, 2015 maybe. And I have a huge amount of family buried in cemeteries in North Carolina from
Really?
the 1700s.
Wow.
And one of the things I love about North Carolina is how important music is, because there are all these Lutherans and they're allowed to sing and make music in their services. And for instance, when I was staying with my friend, he had a new oven installed, and the young man who came over to put it in, who brought his mother to help him, they both played trumpet.
Wow.
So it has this, you can go to concerts in churches or everywhere all the time,
Yeah.
once you get past the COVID.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So speaking of that, let's start a few years prior to COVID. In 2017, you were invited to Boston Ballet to revisit the speaking role of Artifact.
Let me just interject that was a happy coincidence that I had been teaching at Marymount Manhattan, and Dana Casperson was doing some kind of a seminar for the book she was writing. And we met for dinner, and I explained to her that I was having a little trouble with the COPD, which I have. And she said, oh, you should come to Boston. I need help with Artifact. And then Billy called me and he said, I've already got a contract arranged. You're coming to Boston and you're officially Dana's understudy. And he just reconnected me with my theatrical roots. And I really needed that at that point.
Yeah.
The kids were great. You worked with Boston Ballet, haven't you?
Several times.
Yeah, I thought so. The wonderful dancers. I enjoyed re-inhabiting that character. I had forgotten how deep that was in me.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that I have images of you in this role. Kathleen, it was so strong in me because it's the first thing I did with Frankfurt Ballet, and I wasn't even officially in Frankfurt. There was a tour where Christina Berkeley was so pregnant at Purchase University, and they flew me out to do her.
Remember that performance? Yes.
Her work, and I had never seen anything like this in a ballet performance, and I was mesmerized by you, and I can still feel and see and hear you when you offered your hand with this, like this radiating light that you had, and you said, step inside. And it felt like, I can feel it right now. It's like I'm being invited into a world. And I can't tell you, Kathleen, when you walked out with your arms behind you in the train and just walked out, and when you turned, and it's like the wonder that one felt watching you before you said a word. Thank you
so much.
You are one of the most extraordinary, truly. I mean, for someone to remember that, I mean, as a performer, it's like I'm getting like choked up. You made this space. Artifact is still probably my favorite work. Maybe. Yeah. And just the journey. Now I'm talking all about this. And so what I wanted to say is, yes, it's a seminal work, and we'll get to Czar, but what did it mean to you? How did you ground, like, what was this world for you? It's such a huge
it was like nothing I'd ever done before, even though I'd had a number of speaking roles with Bill in Nederlands Danstheater. But there was something about the way he taught me the role, and it was very intimate in the studio. And as you know, there have been several of the women in the historical dress players. And I think for each woman, he made it individual. But for me, I had this, since I was a child, like starting about age 10, I was fascinated with Eleanor of Aquitaine, the great queen who lived until she was 80, riding her granddaughter over the Pyrenees to, I mean, she just blew my mind. And she was one of the few women of the time who could read and write. And I felt like I understood the ballet physically in that the men were my knights, you know, and you know this scene when they walk in, we do the weave,
Yeah.
and women were my ladies in waiting. And so it was very important to me, and I'm glad it affected you, that step inside scene. I tried to give a different look, a different touch to each individual dancer, you know, as I brought you inside where I was living. Does that make any sense?
It makes so much sense. And also, like, you know, when I see you've always been down there, what was this?
That was love.
Oh,
That was love. That was me loving Amanda.
I can totally feel that when you say that.
That was love.
And then Act 3.
But I don't know what to say about that. That was a departure from the rest of her character.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic to spar with Nick. You know, you always said, it was like, you know, arguments I might have heard at home in my family. So, you know, yeah. And that always never thing, I think that's a word I've tried not to use in any relationship ever again. Nobody always and nobody nevers.
It's true.
Doesn't happen.
It's true.
Yeah.
Amazing. So okay. So I mean, I'm jumping way ahead, but we can amend these questions a little bit later. But then I'm going to get to Czar. But first of all, same old story. It had a similar thing. So this was like, again, I was my first year in the company, and we started rehearsing this. And I swear to God, I could not think about my improvisation. First of all, I was scared to death of it, so I wasn't thinking of it. But I kept listening to you. And I was like a kid in story. I was like, yeah, but how does, okay, now what happens? Now, it was, and I see you with like this, again, you have this, you emanated this warmth that was so tangible, and you had these, like, the way the light was, it was like this golden halo, and again Nick as the interrogator. I mean, this ballet, this piece,
I loved doing it. And I have to tell you, and perhaps our audience should know, that Nick and I improvised that in one afternoon. That was not scripted before. We had no idea. And at one point I said to him, well, okay. And you know what? In my hotel room, I have a perfectly simple little black dress and a pair of shoes I was gonna use. And they happened to be black shoes with sparkles all over them. So I pretended they were Cinderella slippers, you know? And the friseuse woman, like, just gave me 80s hair, you know, and
Frau
Ritzel. Oh, I was so sad when I hear she passed. Yeah, honey, when she got your wig on you with nails,
that did not come off.
that's not going to come off. Your head will be smaller after she takes it off, but it'll be fine.
Which is fine with me.
Fine with me. Yeah, me too. I have a big head. It's a thing in my family. So yeah, so Bill said he wanted to vary the explanations. And there were 3 for each point we made. And, you know, I like to play with words like you. So that was a lot of fun. And as it happened, I can't remember where we'd been, but I have a book for each piece I got to do. And I have a little red book from Italy. where I did my first artifact notes. And in that were corrections from Bill, like, do it like you're saying it to my face. And not corrections you usually get, you know. And I flipped the book upside down, and that's where I wrote down SOS, because we had one afternoon.
Right.
I had the book the first time on the desk because I might have needed it.
Well, I have to tell you all, how many years did we do Czar? How many years did I do Czar? I always had my notes there for part 3. I always had the list of characters.
Me too.
I knew them.
Me
They
too.
had to be there.
Had it on the table, couldn't always get to it quick enough, but you know, it gave me some business to do.
Exactly.
Like auction list.
Yes.
You know. Yeah.
So just with wait, there was something I wanted to say about. Oh, was Reggio your first artifact, Reggio Emilia, in Italy? Was it Reggio or was it another town?
It wasn't Frankfurt.
No. You said in Italy. You said in Italy. Yes, it was Frankfurt. I just because we had so many times we went to Reggio. That's just an aside.
We may very well have done it in Reggio.
Yeah.
I have 22 volumes of scrapbooks in my closet. I would have to pull them out. I did them by year, by season, you know.
Yeah. So now getting to Czar, which you wrote with Phil and originated. You reprised your role in 2018 and 19, right?
Yeah.
With Dresden Semperoper. And how was it to step back into that? Did memory take over? Was it a reimagining? Was it, you know, how was it again, looking at this new band,
yes, and yes,
people?
Yes, to all of that. And also it took me very far back to the origins of it, because Bill was fascinated with my Catholic childhood. And I had sent him a picture of me in my little school uniform.
Yeah.
You know, still a virgin. And he wanted to
wear our costumes.
Yeah, he wanted to know what that was like, because he said, "Oh, I'm a wasp." He was. And I tried to explain to them that there was something about Catholicism in the 50s that was so theatrical. I mean, you go in the church in Lent and everything's draped in black and purple, and they wave the censer, and it's a very dramatic, theatrical service. And I think that affected me early on, you know, and so that was some of the thoughts I brought to Czar. And we had all those objets, you know, the arrows and everything. And I would tell him that my favorite nun gave me a book called The Lives of the Saints. I was too young to have been given that book. Because it's all about all these horrible ways to die for your faith, like Mr. Peanut. That's Saint Sebastian.
Yeah.
He was the first martyr with all those arrows.
Yeah.
Tied to a post.
Yeah.
And all those really the horror stories.
Yeah.
That can impress you when you're 9.
Oh yeah.
Deeply. So a lot of it for me came out of that, you know, of her character, Agnes. And Agnes is my confirmation name.
No.
Yes, my name is Mary Kathleen Agnes Fitzgerald, and that was the name I chose when I was 11 and going to be confirmed. And Rosa was the name that helped me. She was my Rosa.
Anna
Rosa Catalina. Rosa was her confirmation name.
No.
Yes. So it was something that, I mean, of course, it's a hysterical piece done properly, but it sprang from something deep in me and in Anna Catalina, you know. Anna Catalina was one of my best partners ever.
She is, talk about
amazing.
Yeah, amazing in so many respects. But in this respect, you're talking about, because I also performed with Anna as well.
Oh, did you? Oh, you lucky.
Yeah, for years and years. And I tell you, talk about integrity and someone that you can always rely on. There was no question, like that she helped our ability, she helped our improv fly, because she was so solid that when we, and you know what I'm talking about, when you start losing your noodles in Act 3 and you're like,
you mean trying to count at the same time as you do text? I've explained that to Bill so many times that you can't do that.
Yeah, and Anna let us not do that.
Because she was counting.
Because she was the motor.
The arrow, you know?
She was the motor. And you knew if you got lost, you knew if she said sold, you had to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was an extraordinary partner. Extraordinary partner. I know, I love her. And you know, it's funny when I would get in there and help teach the new roses, I would say, so your biggest job, and I'm saying, I'm not saying this is a nice job for you, but your biggest job is you are the motor. You keep going. You have to know this inside and out, so you can also have some freedom within it. Because the thing is, Anna did.
Yeah.
Anna knew so well that she would be, remember, I would have times when I couldn't find her. She was somewhere having a great time back with some of the golden objects. Exactly.
Who was your Roger?
Oh, it's so many. Michael Schumacher, Sean Amio also from NDT.
He was one of my babies in the junior company.
Oh,
I have a lot of connections that way too. When I was doing that for NDT, is, you know, the new program for the younger dancers. I loved working with them. Yeah.
Sean was great. I had so many, but it was so much fun. Who was your peanut in Dresden?
Julian.
Yes, Julian.
And he brought Luke was a little, but he was perfect to be that saint.
Perfect.
He was perfect to be that saint because he had already been tortured.
Yeah.
You know?
He understood it.
And Julian had a more spiritual take on it.
Yeah.
And I have to say that Michael Tucker is the best text improv person I have ever worked with.
Really?
Ever.
Oh, he's incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a smart man.
I like a smart man too.
Yeah.
Forget that in uniforms. I like smart men. That's a song.
Yeah. And we had to be really careful at times not to look at one another.
Because you'd crack up.
Completely. Like I had to go behind the chair one time, snorking, you know, or there was always something going wrong. I don't know if this happened to you with the walkie-talkie and the mic. And I would look at him and I would just go, okay, his lips aren't moving. Go. And you know, the telephone, that would be the other thing. Yeah. The gold telephone. Yeah. I loved working with them and they were so open to me.
Oh, they're a great company.
Great company. And I actually asked help me, the Ballet Mistress, Spanish.
Oh, it might be. Oh, yes. Sorry, I'm blanking on her name, but I know who you mean.
You know who I mean.
Love her.
Another wonderful person. It'll come to me before we're done. But I said, do you think I could have a half an hour rehearsal with them and explain what the golden objects are?
Yeah.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
What
Because
these
I
things
know.
meant.
Yeah.
So, and that seemed to really help. And then I took them to the, what's that museum? I wrote it down. There's a museum near the, it's called a something gallery, and it's near the Semper Gallery, and it's near the theater. And so we went in there and we looked at the medieval period paintings. And I said, you see, there's an arrow and there's the trident. And these things all have historical meaning. And
Exactly.
I think it just gives another layer, you know?
Well, Kathleen, that's why it's so important for, I believe, roles to be taught if the original person is there.
And it doesn't really have to do what
that
you
person's not performing it anymore, but to bring that person in and just to have these sessions of, because no matter how well prepared, and you prepared me very well with those notes, you gave me
I hope so.
Oh, you did, you prepared so well, but I could never know all of the history because it's your history. And it's intimacy. You know how you spoke about Bill being like intimately speaking to you about artifact, and how he is a remarkable coach, that man. I had a similar 1 hour intimate, he excused everybody about when I first did the duets and artifact, and he went over da dee da 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 da. That's all he went over for an hour, and taught me all the ways I could listen. He is a phenomenal coach. He
Yeah.
really. Yeah. I'm so happy they got to hear that from you.
And it was so funny because it was like I was teaching my Modern 2 class in Steffi Nawson School in New York. They're 5 years old and they sit on the floor and they eat it up, you know. And we were talking about, I mean, the beautiful, tall Korean dancer, Sung. Yeah. I just thought, how wonderful that they're just open to that, you know. And why not add another layer to your knowledge of what you do?
It only makes you a better performer and a more rounded human being.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're like thinking of it necessarily in words while you're dancing, but it does change just maybe how you see the way someone is moving, or, you know, here they come, birdcage.
So now for some history, Kathleen.
Sure.
You have and have had a glorious, many-faceted career working with amazing people, creating seminal roles in both NDT and Frankfurt. Your first role, however, was Clara, and in a dress that your mom designed and made for you. You moved to Geelong. Is that how you say it?
It's pronounced Geelong, and I would like to just insert here that my family was not, later things were better, but she made costumes for Nutcracker so I could have lessons.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, and then we moved to Geelong, Australia.
Yeah.
And that was a total shift.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. But you continued studying, right?
Yes, because Mom, we had very good teachers in the Wenatchee's dance school, Wenatchee, Washington. And as it turns out, do you know who Bobby Barnett is?
Yes.
Robert Barnett. Okay. He choreographed our Nutcracker every year.
Wow.
He has been around forever. He's 96 now. I actually asked if I could be his friend on Facebook, and he did remember me. But there were other things he can't remember, and he says, "Forgive me, I'm 96." I was like,
you're forgiven.
How wonderful, you know? Yeah, so then we moved to Geelong, and Mom, as usual, you know, checked out. I have to make somebody go away there. Checked out what would be the best school. And the one that she chose was the Borovansky Academy, which was the origins of the Australian ballet originally. And we're like in what, 1961 or 2 when we're there. And it was old school RAD, little tunics with bare legs.
Wow.
And shoes and socks and really cold legs. And, but it was good. It was good to know a different way to move. And Mom also hired a private coach. What a great mom.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
And he was from the Paris Opera Ballet, Robert Pommier, and later was a star of the Australian Ballet. And oh, he was so handsome. Oh my God, dark hair, and he'd teach pirouettes with a cigarette in his mouth. Just, so both my sister Patricia and I were very lucky in our training because mom knew what was the best.
Well, and then while you were, you went back to the USA, and at some point you discovered a brochure where, so like you were in summer school, and there was a new school devoted to the arts called NCSA. We spoke a bit about this in the beginning, but you auditioned and were accepted, and I think you were just barely 16. God bless your parents.
It was actually 15 when I auditioned, and let me say something about where we had been living, which was not happy making for mother or me. Madisonville, Kentucky. And there was only one school there, and the woman, bless her heart, was well-meaning, the teacher. But yeah, when I got to that audition in Winston-Salem, I really did not, I'd never seen some of those steps before in my life. Never.
So you got in. So you got in, and so just one question before, you said it was an extraordinary experience, and I want to hear why and how, but were you one of the first graduating classes?
I think I was the second high school graduating class.
Wow.
I did my college degree in 3 years. So, so I think I was with some slightly older people who got their college degree that year in listen to me. I'm no good with numbers anymore, bigger than 8. So I'll have to think about that. But yeah, the audition, I was really nervous, and I was wearing completely the wrong kind of leotard and tights, and had a terrible hairdo. And I just got kind of caught up in what they were doing, especially the boys. And I've always loved to jump. That's the thing I miss the most, is being able to fly, And I started trying, they were doing this thing called entre-chassés. And I thought that was fantastic. And Duncan Noble, you know of him, he came out and he said, it's simply a rhythm trick. You jump up and you do back, front, back. That's the accent. And I was like, oh, cool. And so I learned how to do entre-chassés in the audition. Wow. And he turned to Bobby and they nodded. And I mean, I really was lacking so much, but they took me anyway.
And so this was an extraordinary experience for you, right? Because it was also, you were away from home. Yeah. And, at a young age. And this probably also was one of these seminal moments in your life as far as shaping you, right? Like feeling this freedom,
bear in mind, it's the 60s, baby. Really.
Yeah. And so when you speak about your friends that have moved back to Winston-Salem, these are some of these friends, right?
They are totally my 60s friends. And it's such a gift. And I don't know. It's sometimes you get to go where you need to go.
Yes. So at 19, you became a founding member of the North Carolina Dance Theater, right? touring the States and Europe. And not long after, you knew you wanted to dance in Europe full time, and you auditioned for NDT in New York City.
In a Maggie Black class.
In a Maggie Black class, amazing. Yes. And, you know, no surprise to me, you were accepted. And Jiri Kylian was the new director.
He wasn't the director until we moved there, Michael Sanders and I, in 74, and in like August of 74. And Jiri didn't come till, I want to say, maybe October he was hired.
I see.
And,
so who was your first director?
they had an interim director.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they'd had fabulous directors before, but, you know, Rudy van Danzig and, you know, people like that. And at the School of the Arts, we had had any number of teachers who had used to be members of Netherlands Dance Theater.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was this close, it's all
interconnected.
You know, like chaîné means a chain. Yeah. It's like that, you know. So I just knew that they needed, you had to have good ballet technique. I had had modern training at NCSA, of course, and it was the beginning of a new era of what dance could look like and still be called classical. You know?
Yeah, still be called ballet.
It could be called ballet. Yes.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to wear point shoes all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So here you were, you know, working with who would become one of the seminal choreographers of our age, Jiri Kylian. And then in the same year, as guest choreographer, there's Bill Forsythe. You know, so just wow. I mean,
just wow. And I mean, I was trying to find the names, but I couldn't get all the scrapbooks out of the closet of some of the first people I worked with in NDT that like, who's the guy from New York? And then there was the gentleman who choreographed, forgive me, when I try to talk fast, I forget words, they'll come back later. The big sort of operatic thing with Oh Fortuna, that's one of the verses in it, with live chorus and live orchestra. Wow. All these pieces with live music.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. It's too expensive.
Yeah. Well, and you so you say these were likely the happiest years. You said, you quote, "These are likely the happiest years of my life, working, creating symphony of songs, Sinfonietta, Say Bye Bye, Mental Model, Hans van Manen works, Christopher Bruce, the tours, you know, I mean, wow, again, it's just.
I was so lucky. We were so lucky. And you know what? We knew it. We did know it. There was a,
you know it when you're involved in something, you do know it. There's
humility involved. And I love the way, because there was an older contingent in NDT, of course, more Dutch and French dancers, and we learned from them, and they helped us be proper artists, you know, and introduced us to things like eating snails. But anyway, I've never been so sick in my life. It grew up so much.
I've never been able to try them.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I have red, blood, broken vessels in my eyes. Anyway, they kind of raised us a little bit, you know, and we were fresh and sassy with Jiri. We would make up English texts for these Latin songs, you know, like in Symphony of Songs, there's a patakat that I got to do. And we told him the words were, my doctor told me, eat meat sandwiches. Of course, it didn't, that's not the words. It was, you know,
That is awesome.
just,
So-
well, he would sort of laugh, but, you know, we had all that energy. What are you going to do?
So I need to ask you, the first time that you, so I have a couple of questions, but the first time you met Bill and first time in the studio, what was your feeling? What was that like? What was that click? What was it?
I could tell he was a little nervous. And we were all in there, you know, we'd all done an extra warm up and we were ready, each of our own against the bar and everything. And he says, sit down. And there was the second studio at that time was there was a stage here, and then there was a dance floor of a small studio. And this is when he was going to make Say Bye Bye, which you've also done, right? Thought so.
Well, only in the first season. Yeah, then it was no more.
No more. But he said, all right, I want everyone to go get paper and pencils. Okay. And then he said, and he had a big thesaurus dictionary with him. And he said, I want every word you can think of that has to do with volition and speed. And out of those words, he picked 12. And you remember the beginning of Say Bye Bye? Yeah. And so he gave those words these gestures, and that became the beginning of the piece. And I look at some of my photos and I'm like, I let Patrick Dady do that with me, throwing me up in the air. And you know, he's a big guy. You remember him, or did he leave? You remember Patrick? Lovely young man.
I remember. I don't. I only pictures.
Yeah. And we were just like, cool. And the Dutch audiences loved it, and we toured it. It's a little hard on the body.
Yeah, Bye Bye was an intense ballet. But talk about energy, lambasting the audience. This was so visceral, this piece, and that you were the original cast of this and created it. I have this vivid memory of Amanda in it.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, wow. And Anna and Gisela, and Betsy.
Yes. And at one point when we were just getting to the finale, you never know when you're getting to a finale with Bill, but it happens. Well, you know, he doesn't always work in sequence.
No, he doesn't. Yeah.
Did. So that's just another way to be creative.
Yeah.
And he says to me, Kathleen, lose it. Start laughing hysterically and walk down stage. Okay, boss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
the thing about it, so correct me if I'm wrong, or that's a silly statement, but what I mean is, you know, my entire career as a ballet dancer was with a creator, was with Bill, right? You had these two seminal people. I think it's such a different thing. You're ready to say, okay, boss, you're ready to do like, oh, okay, I'm up for this adventure. What's happening now? It's such a different animal than being, and it's not good or bad. I'm not judging it. It's just
no, but it is different.
Company, right?
Yeah, it is different.
Yeah.
And
you up for your life.
Huh?
I think it's a setup for life.
I do too.
Right?
Especially when we talk about what happened to me later. So, but Jiri's approach to starting a ballet was different. We all go into the studio.
Yeah.
And he had always got the music already.
Yeah.
And he would say, so now we play the music. You sit down, you lie down if you want. And we would listen to the whole piece. And then we would start making the piece.
Yeah.
And that was a really powerful way to connect us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And with Bill, sometimes he didn't know what the music was going to be.
Right. another layer of creativity was
Yes.
working with the music with Tom,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
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 So did you have some favorite roles with NDT?
Oh God, yeah. Jiri did this piece called Ariadne for 6 women. And it was based on, we'd gone to Italy on some tour, and Jiri used to take us places because we were so green, especially the group from America. Like, we went as a group for a school outing, basically, to the Hermitage. And so this is the room where there are portraits of serfs, and this is that, and this is that, and this is that. And where was I going with that?
That Jiri
Ariadne.
Yeah.
He took us to Pompeii. So we could see these frescoes of these Dionysian rites that the women did. And we had these gorgeous costumes. Oh, it's nice to have a body back then. With hand-painted silk skirts, and it was a Takamitsu score, and I'll just never forget doing it. And the women were partnering one another in some pretty incredible things. I put a photo on my Facebook page of a rehearsal.
I just saw.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah. Beautiful.
And we were so, I guess it was all the estrogen. We were so bonded, these 6 women, and the audiences loved it, and we loved it. And sometimes we'd cry afterwards, you know, it was so intense. I love that. I love Stool Game. Did you ever see that? It's with little, oh, okay. So it was a piece where Jiri came into the studio one day, and I think it was something Muller wrote about the loss of his daughter. It's something about children's. Anyway, he came to the studio and he poured this bag of underwear on the floor. I mean, like old-fashioned underwear, like long johns and things. And he said, okay, you pick something. And so I ended up in a pair of pants that were upside down. So the waist was around my feet and the legs were up above my knees. And so I could only sort of shuffle and make, you know, wide open positions. And he created this piece about children playing games, but they were very adult topics. You know, there was a pas de deux, it was Gerard Lemaitre. You ever hear of him or see him? Oh my God, where the red ribbon would fall out of the bodice of Rosalind Anderson, and that was her deflowering, as we would have called it then. And I had a lovely little pas de deux with Gerald Tibbs, who I knew from North Carolina Dance Theater. You know, yeah, I really like doing that. Audiences like, and during that time, there were young children in the opening to make noise and be in the playpen with us. And Jiri came to me and he said, you know, a little, I need you backstage to take care of the children. I said, okay. And then somehow he translated that later into me assisting the junior company. And I still know some of these guys.
Yeah. I mean, Kathleen, you're a history maker. You've worked, I mean, you had these intimate relationships with these 2 extraordinary creators, and
the extraordinary people I was dancing with. See, that's where intimacy comes from.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So at 35, Kathleen, you knew a transition was coming, but you felt like you were a crap rehearsal director. You had worked with Bill, as we just spoke about, at NDT, and Bill said, you are not finished, Kathleen, come with me. And you joined Ballet Frankfurt, and you created many, again, you know, of the iconic speaking roles with Bill.
I co-created,
of course, but yes. Okay, absolutely, yes. Isabel's dance also among those. I mentioned SOS and also Skinny and Isabel's dance and Czar. I was lucky enough to learn from you and be only the second person at that point to do it. And I have, like I said, you lovingly and generously gave me all of your original notes. And I loved these two roles so much.
So much, right?
Like the third act in Isabel's dance, again, improv, it's so funny. I think I might have always been a better improver with words than I was with steps.
Me too.
Yeah, it's something we share. We share this love of words, and that our brains can just, make these associations. And like you said, it's working with the people. It's the people you're with, and that they're, like Nikki, was ready with SOS, ready for the moment.
And the magic.
And the magic, letting it happen, right?
Yeah.
So what was your first speaking role with Bill?
Oh, the best thing that's never been done again. And I'll try to keep it brief. I know you're going to have to edit a lot of this out, but
no, we're not.
Okay, so he came to do the Holland Festival. Tell me if I'm too close or too far. And slightly before that, maybe some dancers at NDT had made a film which portrayed, it was a little naughty, which portrayed Eve Wallstrom as a nurse and giving Bilia male organ transplant.
Okay.
And with the sheet rising up and all that, and so when he came to make the piece, he jocularly said he decided the costuming on who had worked on the film, and I hadn't, because I hadn't had time. And so he dressed them all in, what was that old material unitards used to be made out of?
Millie skin?
No, pre that.
Oh, I don't know.
Really thick cotton.
Oh, that really thick stuff that didn't stretch.
Yeah, didn't stretch. It didn't go back.
Yeah.
And he said, Kathleen, what would you like? And I said, oh, Bill, I've really always wanted to have a tutu. So he arranges for me to have a tutu from Taffy's. Do you remember Taffy's costumes from when you were young? It was horrible. And he made me wear little white anklet socks and patent leather Mary Janes. And it was an entire improv madness because he didn't know he was supposed to have chosen music. And so he was going to, I don't know, do something, but so he finally settled on Stravinsky's 4 orchestra pieces. And he only wanted to use 3 of those movements, but he was told he had to use all 4. And so he created this, I don't even know how to describe it, this piece about devils and the ballerina. Oh, and there were pirates and a pirate maiden. And it was so much fun. And yes, I was speaking in that. I don't know how to explain it, but I can tell you the Dutch loved it. And there was a little house on stage where people would go and do silly things. And then for the 4th movement, you won't be surprised at this, he said, Kathleen, I want you to run downstage and grab the curtain and try to keep it closed and say, wait, is there a finale?
Oh, Isabel's. Oh my God.
I know. And so I ran around acting as though I didn't know what we were going to do. And the devils would come on and do certain things, and the pirates and the pirate maidens. And Finally, it finished. Oh, no, what would I had to say? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is it.
Wow.
This
And
is
that's
the,
all bizarre.
this is the end.
Wow.
It's not the beginning and it's not the middle. It's the end. And the conductor had a little hat with the devil horns on it, like the devils did. And he comes up and looks at the audience, and curtain closed. Yeah. So,
You know, I have to mention, just I'm interjecting here. I have to mention Ava Crossman Hecht.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, absolutely.
Composer for Czar and Isabel's and
and
Louise. I mean, the score in part 3, the auction in Czar. I mean, that fuels that role so much, as does the whole score of Isabel's. I mean,
and the whole score. I mean, no, that was Margot Sappington playing in.
Oh, Margot! Oh my God!
I talk to her now and then. She's doing okay.
She is. She is an extraordinary performer as well. The power and the force. You see, I never got to experience Ava in the pit playing Artifact. I only experienced Margot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Ava was there in the first year, but she was already, quite sick. But yeah, I experienced Ava in class. Remember how she used to talk to us?
My God, yes.
Come here, Helen, come here. Like, okay. Yeah.
I can take corrections. All right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Now I had some more questions for you here. So you mentioned your favorite speaking role. What about in Frankfurt? Did you have I mean, it's kind of a silly question because each role brings something different, right?
Something different. But if I had to pick one, it'd be Artifact.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Even though I wasn't original cast for that, but he changed he let me. He wanted me to do it Kathy way.
Yeah.
And I really loved that. I don't know why I was so connected to it. Partly the music, but
well,
and I was
also a full journey.
Yeah, and I always felt
deep journey.
And what you see, you think you thought you saw scene. I always felt like that was a pas de deux with Margot.
Yes.
Because we would just unabashedly, I would nod at her when I was ready to start. And, it was, I just felt there was a magic in Artifact.
There is a magic in Artifact. You know where I felt like I had a pas de deux with Margot in Artifact? Pas de deux for no one.
Oh, yes.
So it was Betsy's role, right? So I did Betsy's role as the duet, and that was an improv. And I did the same thing with Margot. I would look at her and I'd kind of wait for that first note, and then I'd go, and it was really.
And she was looking at you. I bet.
Exactly. And she was. Yeah. It was.
There was one piece I never wanted to do, but Billy insisted that we all audition for this particular choreographer, who shall remain nameless. And I did my best to screw it up. Damn if I didn't get cast. I hated it.
We'll talk about that afterward, but I think that's which piece you're talking about.
Oh, you may know. You may know. Does the phrase "little man" have any meaning for you?
No.
That was one of the steps that we had to learn from this person. So
I'm really intrigued. Okay. Yeah. Well, we still have a few more questions to get through. So I want to go in a different direction now. You were pregnant with your beautiful daughter, Jessie Rose, when you did your last Artifact performance.
3 months along.
3 months along. And you say the birth changed your life and your life plan shifted immeasurably. You say, and I quote, "This is what my career in dance prepared me for. The impossible and the unexpected." Do you want to expand on this? I mean, you know.
I can because it is a significant part of my life. She's going to be 31 in August.
Unbelievable.
And I will finally be able to travel up and see her again for the first time since 2019. And when she was born, I was in a gurney next to her in a hallway, and she was in an incubator. And I thought, oh, this doesn't look good. But she was blue from lack of oxygen. And they whisked her away from me, and they took her to a different hospital than the one I was in. And so I was pumping milk, and it was being taken over to her. And finally, I was released, and I could go visit her in that hospital. And these people would come in and tell me all these, she will never this, she will never that. She's never going to, I mean, it was just one difficult thing after another. But when I held her, I was like, well, I don't know. I think maybe we can do something about this. And she had a wonderful neurologist, Dr. Auerswald, that means Woods of the Owls. And he said, I just want you to know, because some woman had come into the room and said, well, you know, she's never going to go to college. And I was like, why are you telling me that now? She's not even one. There might be a few steps in between, you know. And Dr. Auerswald came in and he said, you know, she had significant oxygen deprivation, and this is going to be a long road. And as a neurologist, I can tell you that there's no accounting for what love can do. And sorry. That's how I approached it. And I got her good physical therapist when she was 4 weeks old, who came to the hospital and stayed with that woman the whole time we were in Bremen, and rejoiced in the small gains. And Jessie, I think, is a bodhisattva. She smiles readily. She relates to voices. She loves music. When she was in the incubator, it was all the Mozart piano duets. And she loved it. She responded, her brain waves changed. And yeah, so I think it took till she was 2 years old for me to go, okay. She had a terrible seizure disorder. That's scary as heck. So that was it. I had thought that I might be an actress, but that's not going to happen. And then we moved to Dusseldorf. I was married to Ira Levin, a conductor, fantastic pianist, and actually from Chicago, which is funny. And he's a lot younger than me. So at a certain point, we decided we should separate because this was kind of too much for him. And that's when I decided to move back to New York, in a neighborhood where there were two of my friends from the early 60s at the North Carolina School of the Arts. So you can see all of those interweavings, you know, which kind of makes me feel like, I mean, I've had a few times when I just was ready to give up, but no, I actually have a lot of people who have my back.
Yeah, and you have your beautiful daughter.
I have my beautiful daughter, who unfortunately at this point, I mean, she used to be a big Handel fan, and Haydn. She kind of likes boy bands. And more contemporary music. And I came back to the States thinking, well, I'll tell you what happened. My mom was always so supportive. And I guess about a year after Jesse'd been born, and we're still in Bremen now, she started sending me a subscription to a magazine called Exceptional Parent.
Oh,
and there
wow.
were all these ideas and ads, and I thought I had invented a bunch of things to help Jesse. Like there's a sippy cup with a cutout. Somebody over here had already invented that, but I just went, oh, that makes sense. Now she's not going to choke. So there was an ad, a 2-page spread about this new place opening up in upstate New York called the Center for Discovery.
Oh, wow.
And the little girl looked a lot like Jessie, wheelchair. And I thought, if I ever send her someplace else to live, if it's as good as my care, it's going to be that place. And so when I moved back to the States, I foolishly thought you could pick the school you wanted. And you can't. You have to go with what your school district says. So I fought she was 9 when we moved back to the States. So I fought a battle with the local, part of the school board that deals with children with disabilities. And
Right.
And I went every year, and I said, no, she's not getting adequate care here. And the then director of that board said, well, you can't expect optimal, only appropriate. And I was like, and if it was your child?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the center helped me out with, because they were keen to take Jessie.
Oh,
And then the center said to me, you need to get an independent examination. And we would suggest you get it B with her eyes, because then you can prove she needs vision therapy.
oh,
And
cool.
that's what we did. And I had just gotten a grant to put in a handicapped accessible bathroom for her. Just started to put it in the house. And I got a call from the center saying, we have an opening for her.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to bring her? And I started to talk about the bathroom, and I went, no, yes, I'll bring her. So we went up, and I can't tell you what this place is like. Oh my God. It's all arts and nature-based. They have integrated arts in every possible way. I'll send you a video sometime after this, which gives you an overview of the campus, which is huge. Yeah, and so I had packed to stay there for 2 weeks and tell them all about how to take care of Jessie. And after 4 days, the head of the physical therapy department, who I love, Joyce Checksfield, and as it happened, she was in Germany when I was in Germany.
Wow.
Studying Bobath and Voita physical therapies, and those all developed while Steffi Nossen was in Germany and following Mary Wigman. So I mean, it's all this tapestry stuff.
Yeah.
And she said, Kathy, there's telephones. She's going to be okay.
Yeah, but I understand you. It's your daughter.
Yeah. And she said, she's going to be okay. And we are going to do some things differently, but we're very experienced and we will inform you always. And I was like, okay. And it made it easier for me to work as a school director. I could do evening classes now to teach. So yeah, just what a road, what a ride.
Yeah, what a road.
But we all have them.
Yeah, but we all have them. You never know people's histories. It's really, it's especially as I've gotten older, it's the idea of judgment or good, bad, right, wrong, right?
Or who's better.
It's like it doesn't even if you actually think about how unapplicable is that to life.
Right.
It's just the value system that is within that is so I don't want to place judgment on it, but because that's exactly what it is, but it just doesn't fit in the schema of my schema of especially now as a choreographer and a teacher, right? How does that actually fit in and make someone grow?
Right. Absolutely right.
Right?
And I think that dance is a very spiritual thing for me, always has been. Not in the little Catholic schoolgirl sense. That's my mischievousness. But yeah, it's very spiritual. And having a child who's nonverbal and non-ambulatory is spiritual. That's why I think she's a bodhisattva.
Yeah.
She's, yeah.
This being, she's remarkable.
She is remarkable. Great sense of humor.
I remember that keenly, how much you say you two always laugh together. That's a memory I have. Of your
Or if someone in the hallway farted, she would like about fall out of her chair laughing. She thinks it's hysterical. She takes after her mom. Same sense of humor. So, and she still loves music, and I do play songs for her. And the staff brings possibly more contemporary music to her vocabulary. What was that boy band? One Dimension.
One Direction.
One Direction. She loved.
But I love your renaming One Dimension.
Well, whatever. It's a little bit One Dimension. So she loved them for a long time.
So, Kathleen, we're at the last three questions that I ask everybody. First one, in supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some of the specific daily practices you think that we could be active with?
You mean me personally, or we as a group?
You. Like, what are your ideas? No, oh no, not that you can do, but what are your ideas about perhaps or an idea of what we could do as a dance community to make it more?
I think it's already started. I had the great good fortune at Steffi Nossum School of Dance to hire choreographers for our, galas and things. And most of them were people of color. And
I want people to know, Steffi Nossum, this is where you worked, where I worked
for, 16 years.
Yeah.
And taught.
And this is a new one.
Have you ever taught 3-year-olds?
No.
Okay, it's terrifying.
Sure it is.
The first thing you teach them is to freeze dance. Yeah. Sometimes I think of using that on teenagers, but so yeah, this was at the Steffi Nossum School of Dance, and I tried always to bring in different people, and these were such wonderful choreographers and just needed a chance, and they weren't copying Bill or Jiri. They had their own thing, and that's rare, to make your original artwork. And of course, working with the children I loved, and that gave me a different viewpoint on dance, where I'm like, well, I don't care if she's a little on the heavy side. She's 11. She's going to change. Why shouldn't she dance? Why shouldn't I have that little girl with Tourette syndrome in my class? The weird thing is, once she got into the class, it never happened in class.
Yeah.
It only in the hallway. I mean, dance is healing.
Dance is healing.
It is.
It's healing in the metaphysical, but also in the actual scientific applicable. It is healing. It creates connections, the cross connections in the hemispheres that many other things cannot even touch.
And something that I really loved doing at Steffi Nossum was, and sometime I'll write you a letter about her history, because she was Jewish and got out just in time, 1934. We started this program called Wheels and Heels, and it was special dance classes for folks with different abilities. What a great program. Oh my God. And they got to perform, and this was like in 2011, I want to say, maybe even before. So that was something I really obviously would lean towards. So
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So in terms of what I can do now, I'm a good listener. I still hear from some of these choreographers. I encourage. I donate what I can donate to their companies. I encourage my faculty from stepping off, and actually we're doing a Zoom call tomorrow night. Yeah, to give courage, to be happily inhabiting my fourth act, which is to be a femme sage. You know?
Femme sage. Yes.
Femme sage.
And you are.
Forget that crone shit. I'm a femme sage.
The crone shit. That's right.
That's right.
Fuck that.
Hear that tightly. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. I think there's another question or not.
There are two.
Okay.
The caveats for both of these is, I know for all of us, there are many, many things you could recall. I'm asking you in an improvic way, something that comes up now spontaneously. The first one of those is, can you share a favorite memory from your creative life?
Oh, it's a pretty big menu.
What comes up strongly now?
Something that was original with me or something I took over? Artifact, Symphony of Psalms, Sinfonietta, Ariadne, Czar.
So is there a particular memory from one of these?
The moment of confusion in Artifact, when I always have to think of it as she, even though it's me. When she does the whole, and what you see, you think you thought you saw, but when you thought you see, you saw, you thought you think, but blah, 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 blah. And then she works up to this climax. And the last line was supposed to be, I think, and physically my body went like she went back into herself. I think.
Yeah.
And then picked up the robe. And wasn't that fun to play with that robe? Oh my God. That was a great creative thing, even though I was recreating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one, do you have an insight you can share about living a creative life?
It's not always what you wanted to do. And I think
Not
one thing
always what you want it to do. Yeah. Okay.
it isn't always what you wanted to do.
Wanted to do. Okay.
Yeah. And when I began to become very depressed during the COVID, I finally had bought this little condo, which I love. I'm hoping you can hear the birds while we're talking. And I made this my creative project, this house, to paint it, get rid of the popcorn ceiling, to fill it with books and music and light. And that was my most recent creative project. The ones that will come next, I don't know. I've been told I should write a book. Keep boring. I don't know that I would do that. I don't know. I think
So
you have to be able to embrace things that you weren't expecting and be creative with that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Kathleen. Well, how generous and how much love and how much inspiration you've shared with us today. It's I was so looking forward to speaking with you, and you're a remarkable, remarkable artist and woman, woman first, artist woman, femme sage.
Yeah, I told you, I think, that I was really reluctant because I was comparing myself to other people, and that's another thing probably we should all remember. We don't need to do that.
No,
You know, we don't need
that's
to
dead end street.
no, not in our work.
No. You thank you. Thank you so much. I want to direct viewers to find out more about you. Is there some place they can follow you, or?
I don't do a lot of Facebook because I think it's changed so much. I'm thinking of Instagram, maybe. I don't know, but generally I have non-political posts on my Facebook page.
And under your name?
Oh, sorry, it's Kathleen Fitzgerald, Kathleen with a K. And there are a number of us, apparently. Mine always has a dance picture.
Oh, good. Oh, yes.
You can't miss. Yeah, always has a dance picture.
So you will, everybody, you will find a short bio from Kathleen in the description box below this video. So you'll find out a little bit about her. But we have new guests every month, and our next interview is another Forsythe family person. It's Damon Hart, he is an exclusive personal trainer and a leveled Pilates instructor. So he's the teacher of teachers now. He's our next guest. I want to thank Gracie Spina. You know who you are. I want to thank our beautiful dance world, which continues to uphold us, feed us, give us, and Kathleen. I don't know how to thank you enough. I have learned so much from you when I was a young artist and through the years. So you mean a tremendous amount to me and my life, and I can't thank you enough for all your generosity and love.
Thank you, darling. I feel so much love for you and your work, and I salute you.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye, darling.